Peter Press Pistol Pete Maravich was an American professional basketball player. He was born in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, part of the Pittsburgh metropolitan area, and raised in the Carolinas. Maravich starred in college at Louisiana State University and played for 3 NBA teams until injuries forced his retirement in 1980. He is still the all-time leading NCAA Division I scorer with 3,667 points scored and an average of 44.2 points per game. All of his accomplishments were achieved before the three-point line and shot clock were introduced to NCAA basketball, and despite being unable to play varsity as a freshman under then NCAA rules, one of the youngest players ever inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Maravich was cited by the Hall as perhaps the greatest creative offensive talent in history. In an April 2010 interview, Hall of Fame player John Havlicek said that the best ball handler of all time was Pete Maravich. Early life. Pete Maravich was born in Aliquippa of Steel Town in Beaver County in western Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh. Maravich amazed his family and friends with his basketball abilities from an early age. He enjoyed a close but demanding father-son relationship that motivated him toward achievement and fame in the sport. Maravich's father, Peter Press Maravich, the son of Serbian immigrants and a former professional player-turned-coach, showed him the fundamentals starting when he was 7 years old. Obsessively, Maravich spent hours practicing ball control tricks, passes, head fakes, and long-range shots. This dedication and inventiveness manifested itself in early success. Maravich played high school varsity ball at Daniel High School in Central, South Carolina, a year before being old enough to attend the school. While at Daniel from 1961 to 1963, Maravich participated in the school's first ever game against a team from an all-black school. In 1963, his father departed from his position as head basketball coach at Clemson University and joined the coaching staff at North Carolina State University. The Maravich family's subsequent move to Raleigh, North Carolina, allowed Pete to attend Needham B. Broughton High School. His high school years also saw the birth of his famous moniker, from his habit of shooting the ball from his side as if he were holding a revolver. Maravich became known as Pistol Pete Maravich. For that Pistol, Maravich graduated from Needham B. Broughton High School in 1965 and then attended Edwards Military Institute, where he averaged 33 points per game. Playing career, college. While later in life Maravich would tell friends he always desired to play basketball for West Virginia University and was originally ready to be a Mountaineer. His father was the head coach for LSU men's basketball and offered him a spot at the school. At the time, NCAA rules prohibited first-year students from playing at the varsity level, which forced Maravich to play on the freshman team. In his first game, Maravich put up 50 points, 14 rebounds and 11 assists against Southeastern Louisiana College. In only 3 years playing on the varsity team at LSU, Maravich scored 3,667 points, 1,138 of those in 1968, 1,148 in 1969, and 1,381 in 1970, while averaging 43.8, 44.2, and 44.5 points per game. For his collegiate career, the 6 feet 5 inches guard averaged 44.2 points per game in 83 contests and led the NCAA in scoring for each of his 3 seasons. Maravich's long-standing collegiate scoring record is particularly notable when 2 other factors are taken into account. First, because of the NCAA rules that prohibited him from taking part in in varsity competition during his first year as a student. Maravich was prevented from adding to his career record for a full quarter of his time at LSU. During this first year, Maravich scored 741 points in freshman competition. Second, Maravich played before the advent of the three-point line. This significant difference has raised speculation regarding just how much higher his records would be, given his long-range shooting ability, and how such a component might have altered his play. Writing for ESPN.com, Bob Carter stated, though Maravich played before freshmen were eligible for the varsity and before the three-point shot was established, he loved gunning from long range. Quote, "It has been reported that former LSU coach Dale Brown charted every shot Maravich scored and concluded that, if his shots from three-point range would have been counted as 3 points, Maravich's average would have totaled 57 points per game." More than 40 years later, many of his NCAA and LSU records still stand. Maravich was a three-time All-American. Though he never appeared in the NCAA tournament, Maravich played a key role in turning around a lackluster program that had posted a 3-20 record in the season prior to his arrival. Pete Maravich finished his college career in the 1970 National Invitation Tournament, where LSU finished fourth. NCAA Career Statistics Freshman Varsity Professional Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks selected Maravich with the third pick in the first round of the 1970 NBA Draft, where he played for coach Richie Egerin. He was not a natural fit in Atlanta, as the Hawks already boasted a top-notch scorer at the guard position in Lou Hudson. In fact, Maravich's flamboyant style stood in stark contrast to the conservative play of Hudson and star center Walt Bellamy, and it did not help that many of the veteran players resented the $1.9 million contract that Maravich received from the team, a very large salary at the time. Still, the rookie's talent was undeniable. Maravich appeared in 81 games and averaged 23.2 points per contest, good enough to earn NBA All-Rookie team honors, and he managed to blend his style with his teammates, so much so that Hudson set a career high by scoring 26.8 points per game. But the team stumbled to a 36-46 record, 12 wins fewer than in the previous season. Still, the Hawks qualified for the playoffs, where they lost to the New York Knicks in the first round. Maravich struggled somewhat during his second season. His scoring average dipped to 19.3 points per game during the regular season, and the Hawks finished with another disappointing 36-46 record. Once again they qualified for the playoffs, and once again they were eliminated in the first round. However, Atlanta fought hard against the Boston Celtics, with Maravich averaging 27.7 points in the series. It was a sign of things to come. Maravich erupted in his third season, averaging 26.1 points and dishing out 6.9 assists per game, with 2,063 points. He combined with Hudson to become only the second set of teammates in league history to each score over 2,000 points in a single season. The Hawks soared to a 46-36 record, but again bowed out in the first round of the playoffs. However, the season was good enough to earn Maravich his first ever appearance in the NBA All-Star Game, and also All-NBA second-team honors. The following season was his best yet, at least in terms of individual accomplishments. Maravich posted 27.7 points per game, second in the league behind Bob McAdoo, and earned his second appearance in the All-Star Game. However, Atlanta sank to a disappointing 35-47 record and missed the postseason entirely. New Orleans Jazz. In the summer of 1974, an expansion franchise was preparing for its first season of competition in the NBA. The New Orleans Jazz were looking for something or someone to generate excitement among the new basketball fans. With his exciting style of play, Maravich was the perfect man for the job. Additionally, he was already a celebrity in the state due to accomplishments at LSU. To acquire Maravich, the Jazz traded 2 players and 4 draft picks to Atlanta. The expansion team struggled mightily in its first season. Maravich managed to score 21.5 points per game, but shot a career-worst 41.9% from the floor. The Jazz posted a 23-59 record, worst in the NBA. Jazz management did its best to give Maravich a better supporting cast. The team posted a 38-44 record in its second season but did not qualify for postseason play, despite the dramatic improvement. Maravich struggled with injuries that limited him to just 62 games that season, but he averaged 25.9 points per contest and continued his crowd-pleasing antics. He was elected to the All-NBA First Team that year. The following season was his most productive as a professional player. He led the league in scoring with an average of 31.1 points per game. He scored 40 points or more in 13 different games, including a 68-point masterpiece against the Knicks. At the time, it was the most points ever scored by a guard in a single game, and only 2 players had scored more points in a game: Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor. Baylor was head coach of the Jazz at the time. Maravich earned his 3rd All-Star Game appearance and was honored as All-NBA First Team for the 2nd consecutive season. The following season, injuries to both knees forced him to miss 32 games during the 1977-78 season. Despite being robbed of some quickness and athleticism, he still managed to score 27.0 points per game, and he also added 6.7 assists per contest, his highest average as a member of the Jazz. Many of those assists went to new teammate Truck Robinson, who had joined the franchise as a free agent during the off-season. In his first year in New Orleans, he averaged 22.7 points and a league-best 15.7 rebounds per game. His presence prevented opponents from focusing their defensive efforts entirely on Maravich, and it lifted the Jazz to a 39-43 record, just short of making the club's first ever appearance in the playoffs. Knee problems plagued Maravich for the rest of his career. He played in just 49 games during the 1978-79 season. He scored 22.6 points per game that season and earned his 5th and final All-Star appearance, but his scoring and passing abilities were severely impaired. The team struggled on the court and faced serious financial trouble as well. Management became desperate to make some changes. The Jazz traded Robinson to the Phoenix Suns, receiving draft picks and some cash in return. However, in 1979, team owner Sam Battistone moved the Jazz to Salt Lake City. Final season, the Utah Jazz began play in the 1979-80 season. Maravich moved with the team to Salt Lake City, but his knee problems were worse than ever. He appeared in 17 games early in the season, but his injuries prevented him from practicing much. A new coach, Tom Nisalka, had a strict rule that players who didn't practice were not allowed to play in games. Thus, Pistol Pete was parked on the bench for 24 straight games, much to the dismay of Utah fans and to Maravich himself. During that time, Adrian Dantley emerged as the team's franchise player. The Jazz placed Maravich on waivers in January 1980. He signed with the Celtics, the top team in the league that year, led by rookie superstar Larry Bird. Maravich adjusted to a new role as part-time contributor, giving Boston a hired gun off the bench. He helped the team post a 61-21 record in the regular season, best in the league. And, for the first time since his early career in Atlanta, Maravich was able to participate in the NBA playoffs. He appeared in 9 games during that postseason, but the Celtics were upended by Julius Erving and the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference Finals, 4-1. Realizing that his knee problems would never go away, Maravich retired at the end of that season. It is noteworthy that the NBA instituted the three-point shot just in time for Pistol Pete's last season in the league. He had always been famous for his long-range shooting, and his final year provided an official statistical gauge of his abilities. Between his limited playing time in Utah and Boston, he made 10 of 15 three-point shots, giving him a career 67% completion rate behind the arc. During his 10-year career in the NBA, Maravich played in 658 games, averaging 24.2 points and 5.4 assists per contest. In 1987, he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, and his number 7 jersey has been retired by both the Jazz and the New Orleans Pelicans. NBA career statistics. Regular season playoffs career highs. 40-point games. Maravich scored 50 or more points 6 times and 40 or more points 35 times in the regular season. Maravich's career high in the playoffs was 37 points. Top assist games. Regular season. Later life and death. After his injuries forced him to leave basketball in the fall of 1980, Maravich became a recluse for 2 years. Through it all, Maravich said he was searching for life. He tried the practices of yoga and Hinduism, read Trappist monk Thomas Merton's The Seven-Story Mountain, and took an interest in the field of ufology, the study of unidentified flying objects. He also explored vegetarianism and macrobiotics. Eventually, he embraced evangelical Christianity. A few years before his death, Maravich said, "I want to be remembered as a Christian, a person that serves him to the utmost, not as a basketball player." On January 5, 1988, Maravich collapsed and died at age 40 of heart failure while playing in a pickup basketball game in the gym at First Church of the Nazarene in Pasadena, California, with a group that included James Dobson. Maravich had flown out from his home in Louisiana to tape a segment for Dobson's radio show that aired later that day. Dobson has said that Maravich's last words, less than a minute before he died, were, "I feel great." An autopsy revealed the cause of death to be a rare congenital defect. He had been born with a missing left coronary artery, the vessel that supplies blood to the muscle fibers of the heart. His right coronary artery was grossly enlarged and had been compensating for the defect. Maravich is buried at Rest Haven Gardens of Memory and Mausoleum in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Legacy. Maravich was survived by his wife, Jackie, and his 2 sons, Jason, who was 8 years old, and Josh, aged 5. Only the previous year, Maravich had taken Jason to the 1987 NBA All-Star Game in Seattle, Washington, and introduced him to Michael Jordan. Since Maravich's children were very young when he died, Jackie Maravich initially shielded them from unwanted media attention, not even allowing Jason and Josh to attend the father's funeral. However, a proclivity to basketball seemed to be an inherited trait. During a 2003 interview, Jason told USA Today that, when he was still only a toddler, "My dad passed me a basketball, and I've been hooked ever since. My dad said I shot and missed, and I got mad and I kept shooting." He said his dad told him he did the same thing. Despite some setbacks coping with the father's death and without the benefit his tutelage might have provided, each eventually was inspired to play high school and collegiate basketball. Josh at his father's alma mater, LSU. On June 27, 2014, Governor Bobby Jindal proposed that LSU erect a statue of Maravich outside the Assembly Center, which already bears the basketball star's name. Former coach Dale Brown opposes such a monument, but Maravich's widow, Jackie McLaughlin, said that she had been promised a statue after the passing of her husband. McLaughlin said that she has noticed how fans struggle to get the Maravich name on the Assembly Center into a camera frame. Memorabilia. Maravich's untimely death and mystique have made memorabilia associated with him among the most highly prized of any basketball collectibles. Game-used Maravich jerseys bring more money at auction than similar items from anybody other than George Mikan, with the most common items selling for $10,000 and up, and a game-used LSU jersey selling for $94,300 in a 2001 gray flannel auction. The signed game ball from his career-high 68-point night on February 25, 1977, sold for $131,450 in a 2009 Heritage auction. Honors books, films and music. In 1987, roughly a year before his death, Maravich co-authored an autobiography titled Heir to a Dream that devoted much focus to his life after retirement from basketball and his later devotion to Christianity. After Maravich's death, Louisiana Governor Buddy Roemer signed a proclamation officially renaming the LSU home court the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. In 1991, a biographical film dramatizing his 8th grade season entitled The Pistol, The Birth of a Legend was released. In 1996, he was named one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history by a panel made up of NBA historians, players, and coaches. He was the only deceased player on the list. At the 1997 All-Star Game in Cleveland, he was represented by his two sons at halftime. In 2001, a comprehensive 90-minute documentary film debuted on CBS entitled Pistol Pete: The Life and Times of Pete Maravich. In 2005, ESPNU named Maravich the greatest college basketball player of all time. In 2007, two biographies of Maravich were released: Maravich by Wayne Federman and Marshall Terrell, and Pistol by Mark Kriegel. The Ziggins, a band from Southern California, wrote a song about Maravich entitled Pistol Pete. Collegiate awards. The Sporting News College Player of the Year. USBWA College Player of the Year. Naismith Award winner. Helms Foundation Player of the Year. UPI Player of the Year. Sporting News Player of the Year. App College Player of the Year. The Sporting News All-America First Team. 3-time App and UPI First Team All-America. Led the NCAA Division I in scoring with 43.8 ppg, 44.2 and 44.5 ppg. Averaged 43.6 ppg on the LSU freshman team. Scored a career-high 69 points versus Alabama, 66 versus Tulane, 64 versus Kentucky, 61 versus Vanderbilt. Holds LSU records for most field goals made and attempted in a game against Vanderbilt on 00019690129 January 29, 1969. All Southeastern Conference. Number 23 jersey retired by LSU. In 1970, Maravich led LSU to a 20-8 record and a 4th-place finish in the National Invitation Tournament. Collegiate records. Points. Career. 3,667. Highest scoring average. Points per game. Career. 44.2. points. Season 1381. Highest scoring average points per game. Season 44.5. Games scoring 50 or more points. Career 28. Games scoring 50 or more points. Season 10. Field goals made. Career 1387. Field goals made. Season 522. Field goal attempts. Career 3166. Field goal attempts. Season 1168. Free throws made. Game 30 versus Oregon State 00019691222 December 22, 1969. Tied by Bend Woodside, North Dakota State on 00020081206 December 6, 2008. NBA Awards. NBA All-Rookie Team, All-NBA First Team, All-NBA Second Team, five-time NBA All-Star. Led the league in scoring in 1977, his career best. Scored a career-high 68 points against the New York Knicks on February 25, 1977. Number 7 jersey retired by the Utah Jazz. Number 7 jersey retired by the Superdome. NBA 50th Anniversary All-Time Team. Number 7 jersey retired by the New Orleans Hornets, even though he never played for them. One of only 4 players to have a number retired by a team they did not play for. Maravich did play professionally for the New Orleans Jazz, however, and has remained a greatly admired figure amongst New Orleans sports fans ever since. NBA records. Free throws made. Quarter 14. Pete Maravich. Third quarter. Atlanta Hawks vs Buffalo Braves 0001973-1128 November 28, 1973. Broken by Vince Carter on 0002005-1223 December 23, 2005. Free throw attempts. Quarter 16. Pete Maravich. Second quarter. Atlanta Hawks at Chicago Bulls 0001973-0102 January 2, 1973. Broken by Ben Wallace on 0002005-1211 December 11, 2005. Second pair of teammates in NBA history to score 2,000 or more points in a season. 2. Atlanta Hawks. Maravich, Lou Hudson. Third pair of teammates in NBA history to score 40 or more points in the same game. Maravich, Nate Williams. David Thompson of the Denver Nuggets also scored 40 points in this game. Ranks 4th in NBA history. Free throws made. None missed. Game. Ranks 5th in NBA history. Free throws made. Game. 23. Pete Maravich. New Orleans Jazz vs New York Knicks 0001975-1026 October 26, 1975.